What is going on, all you wonderful A-plusers out there? It is I, Stuart, here, once again to give you guys another Superman and Lois review. This time, of course, I'm going to be talking about episode number 7 of season 1, titled Man of Steel. Now, normally I don't go over episode titles in my reviews, which is probably something I should change going forward, but for this one in particular, I really needed to talk about the episode title for it because it definitely is a very misleading episode title because, of course, you're thinking Man of Steel, clearly they're talking about Superman, so my thought going into this is, does Superman just have an extreme Superman moment that, needs the title Man of Steel or something like that? But nope, there is a reason that we got this title, and it's not what you expect. So let's definitely break this episode down and talk about it, guys. Because first we got to talk about that beginning scene where Superman takes Jordan Kent to the Fortress of Solitude, where he gets diagnosed to be giving basically his super hearing. Something I gotta say is extremely convenient is having the Fortress of Solitude and being able to know what's happening to you when it's happening to you. This was a luxury that unfortunately Clark Kent never had as a kid, and I think one thing that's going to really help Jordan Kent going forward is the fact that he has a dad that's been there through everything that Jordan Kent has been through, and since he's experienced it himself, he knows exactly how to help him through all of it. And again, having the Fortress of Solitude there too is also a major bonus, of course. Now, the other thing in this episode is that Marcus, I believe that was the name that the stranger was going by. Lois does a lot of investigating, and she discovers that, the stranger is a very, very good hacker, because not only was he able to forge an ID pretending to be someone named Marcus, but also he erased every single photo of Marcus that existed on the internet, which means the only way they could find out that he wasn't Marcus was because they had a physical copy of his photo. So Superman and Lois are not really sure whether or not they can actually trust him, but they do also need to know what he knows, because they know that he knows something very important. So they both kind of agree that he definitely needs to be investigated. Meanwhile, we get Morgan Edge with Lana Lang, and her first assignment is that Morgan wants her to assemble a team for him. Basically kind of a team based on skill and qualifications, but really he's really vague about the whole thing. He doesn't even really tell her what specifically he's looking for. He's just saying he wants to find people that have potential that they haven't been able to fully flesh out, if that makes sense, because maybe Smallville was what held them back from really getting to unleash that potential, if that makes sense. So that's basically Lana Lang's assignment when she's working for Morgan Edge, and we then cut to Superman trying to teach Jordan Kent how to control his hearing. So he tries telling Jordan to focus on one sound at a time, and so what happens is he turns on the sync hoping that Jordan will hone in on just the sync, but unfortunately there's just too much noise for Jordan to really be able to focus on anything in particular. So he asked if they could probably pick it up tomorrow, and that he just doesn't want to do it right now. So we then get some really cool flashbacks though, with our stranger. I'm going to keep calling him the stranger until I talk about who his actual identity is. But we get more, and we find out that not only was he in a relationship with Lois Lane, which we already had known from the flashbacks, but apparently the two of them had a daughter, which he calls Natbug. And funny thing about this is that when I first watched the episode without subtitles, I actually thought he was saying Nappa, like the villain from Dragon Ball Z, but no, it was actually Natbug, and I'm assuming Nat is short for Natasha, and I'll go into why I think that later on in the episode. But we see that Superman is basically attacking Metropolis, and he's not alone. There are 4 or 5 others. I don't remember. Oh, I believe 5 others, actually. In fact, that actually gets kind of confirmed in the end, that there are 5 other Supermen that, the main Superman is actually leading for destruction against Metropolis. So we get these flashbacks, but we also get a meeting now between the stranger and Lois Lane, as Lois Lane is still trying to figure out who exactly the stranger is. The stranger assures Lois that he's been telling her the truth the entire time. He just can't really tell her who he is because it's extremely complicated, as he says. Meanwhile, you have Clark investigating his RV, and we get 2 really big reveals here. Now, we get Clark finding out that the machine, the AI, is constantly referring to the stranger as Captain Luthor. So we got that. And then we also find out that the AI isn't very smart, because the AI assumes that Clark Kent is Captain Luthor the moment he walks into the RV, and doesn't really realize it was an intruder until after the actual Captain Luthor comes back into the RV. So that was kind of a cool attention to detail that they put there, and I really appreciated that for what we learned later on in the episode. Morgan Edge finds out that, of course, everyone is suspicious of him, so his plan is to ship out a containment of X kryptonite, hoping to lure out whoever it is that's following him and put an end to them once and for all. But of course, not knowing that Clark is Superman, he has a car full of mercenaries that gets carried away before things can get extremely ugly and dropped into the middle of the desert on top of a rock. I have no idea how they get down from there, or if they get down from there later on. I like to think that they were probably still up there at the end of the episode, but I don't know. But yeah, basically, Captain Luthor hijacks the truck that was carrying the X kryptonite with the intention of stealing it, thinking that Lois and Superman were going to be doing the same thing. But of course, Lois's plan wasn't to steal what was inside. It was really more to just track down where it was that it was shipping to. So the three of them try to touch base, but of course, Captain Luthor doesn't want to tell them exactly who he is. He wants to tell Superman, basically. He says that he will only talk to Superman and no one else. So he asks Lois to set up a meeting with him and Superman. Now, the next scene, we get Jordan Kent, and I don't want to say this is like out of character for him, because you know, we have seen that Jordan Kent is a weird kid overall, and plus it makes sense in the context of this scene. He is trying to figure out how to control his powers, and the easiest way is to hone in on a very comfortable voice, and the most comfortable voice to him would be Sarah Cushing. So, you know, had it just been that he honed in on her voice for like that brief moment, that would have been one thing, but of course he kind of goes too far with it by listening in longer than he should and finding out that her and Jonathan are, oh my god, they're friends, which is something we've already known, because it's not like this is the first time we've seen just the two of them talking with each other. But of course, Jordan isn't happy about this, and he sees this as Jonathan moving in on his girl, which I absolutely hate that mentality so much. And I know that we're supposed to, and I know this is supposed to be like a learning moment for Jordan Kent, but it definitely what did kind of bother me. And I don't want to say it bothered me in a bad writing standpoint. It just bothered me with Jordan's character, you know, in regards to his character. Now, again, this isn't supposed to be a, oh, he did nothing wrong. Like, yeah, it is very clear that what he's doing is wrong. And I do like the way they set it up. But yeah, it just leads to some conflict later on in the episode that I wasn't the biggest fan of. But again, I wouldn't call it bad writing. We then get a flashback because we cut back to Captain Luthor talking with Clark and Lois. And what's cool is that it goes side by side with some really tragic flashbacks, because we have a scene in particular that I thought was just so well edited together, where Captain Luthor asks Lois Lane if she trusts Superman, and Lois Lane replies, "With my life." And at that moment, we get the flashback of evil Superman from the Stranger's world killing Lois Lane. You know, just again, the directing in the scene and just the way it was edited with the flashback and then the present scenes going side by side, I thought were just absolutely brilliant. We then get another scene very similar to this, where it's, you know, the past and present side by side, but this time it's with Captain Luthor, you know, building some sort of machine to take Superman down. But we also get a flashback of him working with his daughter on building the suit that we actually see in the first episode of Superman and Lois. So the next scene that we get, of course, you know, kind of slowing the episode down, but again, I didn't hate it, I just wasn't the biggest fan, is that we get Jonathan and Jordan Kent, of course, arguing with each other, because Jordan reveals that he knows that Jonathan's been talking with Sarah. And, you know, I love what Jonathan says, like, yeah, I was talking to her like a human being would. You know, because, yeah, of course they're friends, and of course they're going to have conversations even when he's not there. So, you know, I think Jonathan has every right to be pissed off at Jordan, especially because Jordan trying to accuse him of, like, moving in on his girl, even though they're not even in a relationship. And then Jonathan just being saying like, seriously, everything I've done for you, even like even though it's never, you know, Jonathan hasn't gained anything from them moving to Smallville. Let's put it that way. He's sacrificed so much, even got his arm broken to prevent Jordan from making the biggest mistake of his life, you know, and Jordan still has this kind of attitude towards him every once in a while. I think I got to give it to Jonathan. Jonathan is like an incredible brother. Like, he is, you know, the fact that he's, you know, still constantly on Jordan's side, even after like this big argument, what happens next, you know, he's still, you could tell he still does love him, and I love it. The way they fight in the show feels so much more like just how siblings fight in real life, and it's just really great. Now, we then get another cool scene where Superman does finally meet up with the Stranger, and this is when we finally get a reveal. And I like how both kind of Lois and Superman figure it out at around the same time, because Lois Lane gets a call from the DOD, and the DOD reveals that the fingerprints did not belong to anyone relating to Luthor, but instead it was John Henry Irons, I believe. Those of you who do not know who that is, that, my friend, is Steel from the comic book. Steel was a character who admired Superman, and after he died from his battle with Doomsday, he built an entire suit, you know, even using the S symbol on it, you know, kind of as a way to kind of take up the mantle. And his whole motif was that he used like a giant hammer as well. In the earlier comics, it used to be that it was like a hammer that was extremely heavy, so the more he would lift it, the stronger he would get, and thus he would have to constantly make up for it by getting an even stronger hammer. But then of course later on, as the comics went on, the suit became a lot more tech based. So, you know, again, it's really cool because now we got Steel in the Arrowverse, and I love how they took, you know, his character, which was supposed to be a guy who idolized Superman, and they did a complete 180 on it, because now it's a guy whose whole motivation is that he hates Superman, and he's trying to kill Superman in order to prevent Superman from destroying the world. I absolutely love that. You know, you did a complete 180 on a character, like literally giving his origins almost the exact opposite of what it used to be, and it works, because this definitely, you know, it definitely confirms something that I've been kind of saying about Captain Luthor for a while, and that is that I don't think he's really a villain. In fact, I still stand by that. I believe after season 1, maybe after season 2, at some point down the line, I do believe he's going to become a main character on the show and not as an antagonist. I do believe that we're going to see him in the show more commonly as an ally. But that's, you know, that's just my theory currently. Absolutely love this moment so much, and unfortunately by the time Lois figures it out, it's too late, because he's already equipped the entire room that he's meeting Superman with Red Sun. So now Superman is kind of screwed, because now Superman can't even get up, and this leads to Jordan getting basically hearing his dad is in trouble, so he and Jonathan basically drive to the area, and they get there extremely quick. I think this would be the one nitpick I'd have about the episode, is that it reminded me of Game of Thrones, when you had all the characters fighting the White Walkers, but then you had the Dragon Queen, who's like on one side of the world. She believes they might be in trouble, so she flies there, and it's like she gets there in no time. I blame probably the editing on this. I do think if this scene started a little bit earlier, like we got like an earlier scene where it was right when the lights turned red, and that's when he said he was about to kill Superman, and then that's when you had Jordan saying, I think someone's trying to kill Dad, and then we kind of cut to them going there. I think it would have worked a lot better, but we don't. We get it like, it was kind of like he's about to do the final blow on Superman. Jordan hears this, they get into the truck, they drive there and stop him from dealing that final blow. And now I know that we don't get a specific location as to where this meeting place is, but, you know, obviously we got to assume that it's somewhere in Smallville. But with that being said, you know, getting from one place to another in a small town usually is at least like a 5 or 10 minute drive. So the fact that the idea of them getting there before he swings that final blow, I think was a little bit too silly. But that being said, that is me nitpicking. Like, that is me extremely nitpicking right there. It did not take away from the episode. This was still an incredible episode altogether. And I love that, you know, we finally get his kids kind of getting some action now, because, and I did not mean it in that way. Sorry, I should have worded that better. But we see them finally, you know, actually helping out with Superman, and actually, you know, saving the day themselves, because, you know, had it not been for Jordan's hearing, they never would have gotten there. And then when they get get there, unfortunately, the Red Sun puts Jordan out of commission, which means now it's up to Jonathan to save the day. And so we get, the fact that we have Jonathan with no powers, but he is extremely athletic and he wields an extremely heavy hammer in order to take out the lights. I think this is really cool. The idea of having one superpowered kid and a non-superpowered kid both being the reason that Superman lives at the end of the episode, I thought that was absolutely brilliant. Now, we get a really cool shot here I gotta talk about when when John is knocked down. Sorry, I gotta remember not to call him Luthor anymore because now we know he is Steel. So when John gets knocked down, we get a really awesome shot where it's Superman walking towards him, and we see from John's point of view the suit constantly turning from what we see in front of us, which is the really colorful red, blue, and yellow suit, and then it turns to the black suit Superman, and it keeps kind of going back and forth, and we get this angry look in Superman's eyes. Like, we know for a fact, had Lois Lane not shown up when she did, telling him to knock it off, I feel like he would have done not a deadly blow or anything, but he definitely would have he definitely looked like he was ready to hit him again just to knock him out, which probably could have done some real serious damage to him. Now, and again, I'm not trying to say Superman would have gone too far with it. He definitely wasn't going to kill Captain Luthor or anything like that, but he was definitely ready to give a second blow to him. So Captain Luthor is then, I keep saying Captain Luthor, I'm sorry, it's going to take me a while to remember it's not Captain Luthor anymore. It is John Henry Irons, aka Steel. So he is taken into DOD custody, and one of the soldiers asks Superman if they should interrogate him now, but he wants to wait until General Lane gets in, and then even then when he gets in, Superman wants to be the first person to question him. So then we cut back to Morgan Edge, and he's with his assistant, and we do find out something about his assistant that I thought was kind of interesting, which is she wasn't the one in the pod, I don't believe, that we saw earlier. Now, there was the flashback, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, where we see a pod crash landing on Earth, and we're led to believe that this is the person that he found in the pod. However, the fact that he refers to her as a test subject who was able to, take the X-Kryptonite with no repercussions, unlike all the other test subjects, this implies that it was someone else. And so what I think what we were watching was a flashback on John Henry Irons' Earth, where I think it was supposed to be actually Superman landing in Smallville, and I think that version of Morgan Edge was the one who raised Superman. He raised Superman to essentially be a hero, but it was all for kind of like what we get John even saying in the episode, it was all for propaganda. It was all to make the world feel at ease, only because it would mean that the initial strike that Morgan Edge would do on the world would then feel like it would come out of nowhere. So I'm definitely really curious to learn a little bit more about that flashback, because we get it at the beginning. I believe it was episode 3 or 4, and they haven't really gone into that flashback ever since then. So I hope that's something that gets explored later on. Also something I should probably mention. Now, there was a lot of the Lana Lang stuff that I kind of skipped through the episode just because it wasn't super important, but basically she was, like I mentioned before, she was meant to come up with a team of really skilled leaders, 5 specifically, and we, of course, get the reveal that these 5 leaders are now going to be the 5 test subjects. And one thing that Morgan Edge does is he notices one of her friends there, and so he thinks that, it'd be a good idea to have one of her friends as a test subject, leading to me thinking that Lana Lane might actually become a test subject as well. Who knows? Maybe if not her, I could totally see her husband, of course, also becoming one voluntarily, because he probably doesn't know what it is that he's getting himself into. But regardless, I definitely think it's going to lead to some tragedy going forward throughout the rest of the season. We then have Superman and Lois opening up completely to Jonathan and Jordan Kent about everything that happened, that's been going on in Smallville. And a thing I really like about this moment is, as they're about to open up about it, you even have Jonathan Kent kind of going, wait, isn't this stuff classified? Are we supposed to know about it? And, it gives that implication that they've kind of known that they've been keeping secrets from them this whole time. They just don't really care because they totally understand that Superman works for the U.S. military, so he understands that a lot of his work has to remain classified. And so I do like that there's no oh, you lied to us anymore. Like that, it seems like they're kind of past that point, and I really appreciated that. So we do have them finally kind of opening up that someone is trying to kill their dad, and that's what kind of ends the episode, I believe. Yep, that yeah, I think we covered everything that I wanted to cover about in my review for this episode, or I guess in the breakdown portion of this review. And yeah, overall, guys, like I said, this was such a great episode. I think David Ramsey did an amazing job at directing this, and something I believe it was DCTV that brought this up, is that it almost kind of felt a lot like an Arrow episode because of this, because the way the flashbacks would go side by side with the present definitely felt like something that you would have seen in Arrow, especially like its earlier seasons, and I think they achieved that really well in this episode. And I think what they revealed, they knew exactly what to reveal at the correct moment during the present. And I think one of my favorites, of course, definitely has to go to that scene where you have John asking Lois Lane whether or not she trusts Superman, and the moment she says "with my life," you get that flashback of Superman killing her from his Earth. And oh my gosh, that scene just gave me absolute chills, I gotta say. So, I thought this was a brilliant episode, and the show just continues to get better and better, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this all concludes. And to think, we're learning so much about what's going on now, and we're not even halfway through the season, because we still got 15 episodes this season, and we've only covered the first 7, so we're not even halfway done, and we're already like learning so much about this. So I'm kind of curious what other twists and what other things might come our way while watching this series. But yeah, I believe that covers about everything. So really great episode. Highly recommend checking it out. But guys, of course, at the end of the day, these are just my A+ opinions. We here at A+ Opinions always want to know what you guys think. So definitely let me know in the comments below if you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Or if you didn't enjoy it, definitely let me know, and let me know why. But of course, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. But guys, above all, keep it A+.